Hello, Victoria here. So today's video is all about taking you through a hip mobility series where we're trying to just create more motion, flexibility at the hip joint. So if you have really tight hips, this is a good one to add into the routine. So the hip joint is a ball and socket joint. So there is a lot of opportunity for movement. Just to go through what the hip is actually possible of before we get into this video, I would like to just go through all 6 of the hip motions that the hip can actually do. So knee into the body is hip flexion. The hip can also, if the leg is straight, or it could also be bent and the leg is going behind the hip, that would be extension. The hip can extend. The leg can also go out to the side, that is abduction. The hip can actually also, leg can come into the body, that's adduction. And then it can also internally and externally rotate. So say that in the case that my knee is bent, it can outwardly rotate, that's external rotation. It can also inwardly rotate, okay? So pretty much all of the things that I'm going to do in this video is going to hit every single motion that I just spoke of. So the first part, you do about 10 to 20 reps. All this is doing is really just creating movement in the joint and bringing synovial fluid there. And you can think about that as like a fluid that is priming the joint to help create more fluid movement. So if you're going to basically be in a high seated position, you can just relax into your arms if you want. Feet are going to be hip width apart. And then we're moving at the hip joint, but it's going to look like my knees are kind of leading the way. So you just want to make sure you have that room in between your feet. So we're going to really go, so 1, say that's 2, up to 20. And all I'm really trying to do here is let my hips move from left to right. And you can see that this is that internal and external rotation, which, I mean, we don't do as much of or enough of in its full range of motion. So say there's another 10 left there, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. And you can see I'm really letting my hips go. I'm not trying to restrict it. The only thing that's good to know, like my hips kind of coming off of the ground there just slightly, the only thing that's good to know is you're not going to a point that's creating any pain or aggravation in the joint. You're just kind of working within a range that feels comfortable for you. Okay, so then from there, this is like a 2-part series. So the first part is addressing the hip flexor psoas muscles. Those are like really deep. They're connected to your vertebrae in the back and the leg bone, which is your femur. So you're going to see there's a lot of movement where we're trying to create length between these 2 areas of the body. So to get started, both legs are bent. One's bent in front, one's bent to the side. Again, we don't really need this foot to be too close to our butt because a lot of times it's either too much on the thigh or too much on the hip for people. So once we're in that position, then we're going to come on down here. And we're trying to stretch out this area, okay, where the hip flexor psoas is at. And what we're trying to do is keep this hip forward at all times so that it's really opening up that area. So there is 2 upper body movements that will elongate this area. So the first one, you're going to inhale as you reach over top of your head, and then you're going to exhale as you sweep the floor. So for the sake of the video, we'll just do 4 of those, but you could do about like 5 to 10. 5 if you're not probably that tight, more if you're really tight towards that 10. So inhaling as we reach over the head, exhaling as we sweep that floor. And again, we should be feeling that through the top front side of the body. Inhale as you reach overhead, exhale as you sweep the floor. From there, now we're going to actually start to rotate. So keeping a high level of pressure through this arm here, I'm going to inhale as I reach up, and then I'm going to exhale as I turn. Inhale as I reach up, exhale as I turn. And again, really just should be feeling that through here. And again, you can restrict the motion. So if you can't maybe move as much as I can, that's fine. You can always just go to a point in which you feel comfortable or just a good stretch without any pain or discomfort, and then stop there and go back. And trying to exhale as we rotate, inhale as we turn. So that would be hip flexor left done for now. We're going to move to the right glute. So now we come to a high seated position. You're going to have one hand in front of the knee and one hand beside the foot. And then again, just a reminder, if you're getting a lot of feedback through here, it's likely possibly because this is too close. You also maybe don't have a lot of internal rotation available in that joint, so that's fine. Just if it's too painful here, don't do this part. You could just focus on the first part for the beginning. So foot kind of further rather than closer. Then what we're trying to do here, the body, this is also stretching not only your muscles, it's also stretching your fascia, which fascia responds better to that rhythmical-like motion. So you're going to notice that this is kind of like a wave-like motion that we're going to do for the first part. So there's two parts to the glute as well. So again, using our hands for support, you're going to inhale as you extend your spine. You're coming down to a point where you can tolerate. Again, we're now stretching this glute, the back side of our butt. And then you're going to exhale and create a rounding motion to come on up. So I'm going to turn the other way because it's a little easier to see that way. So inhale, elongating the spine. Exhale and round the spine. So we're going to do, say, 5 of those as well. That's 3, 4, and 5. And then when we come to the last one, we're actually going to come all the way down to wherever we can. Like that might not be there for you. That might be maybe like here, and that's fine. Again, we're focusing on this area here, the glute. And then you're going to just do 5 to 10 rocks back and forth where you're really just going to start to feel it shifting in that hip area. And then say if you find a really good spot, you can always just hang out and chill there for a few breaths if you want as well. Okay, so now we're going to do the exact same thing from the top. So the left leg would be bent in front instead. Right leg would be tucked to the side, coming down to that forearm, and now we're focusing our attention back on that hip flexor area. So again, trying to keep that hip facing forward. We're going to inhale and reach over our head, and then exhale and sweep the floor. Inhale and reach, trying to create length. Exhale and sweep the floor. And again, only working within a range of motion that feels okay for you. Last one. Inhale, reach, elongate, and exhale, sweep the floor. Okay. Part 2 would be us going into that rotation. So inhaling as we go up, exhaling as we turn to look over that shoulder. Inhale up, exhale as we turn. Inhale up, exhale as we turn. So that's 3. Inhale. Exhale. That was 4. Inhale. Exhale. Last one. Okay, awesome. Then we're going to go to that high seated position and do the glute on the other side. So I'll stay forward for 1 and then switch. So one hand beside the foot, one hand beside the knee, keeping that foot further rather than closer. Again, if you're getting any irritation here, you don't need to do this section yet. Inhale as we extend, exhale as we round to come back to the start position. So that's 1, inhale, exhale, 2, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Last one, long, tall spine, round spine. Okay, and then from there, we're coming down to wherever our end range is. We're feeling a really nice stretch on that hip, and then we're going to just rock back and forth for 5 repetitions as well here. That's 3, 4, and 5. And again, if you want, you could also, if you're like, ooh, I got a really good spot, you can also just hang out and hold there as well to finish off. So that is taking the hip through almost every single position that could really help loosen and create more motion in the hip joint itself.